the MVPs, Hasain Al-Shakati and Marcus Murray from TrueSec. We'll begin the session shortly, but would ask you to all complete our quick poll question just before we get started, and then I will hand right over to the guys. I'm just going to leave this up just for a second. And if you wouldn't mind just having a quick look at the questions and just filling those in for us just while we get sorted this end. Today's session, the risk of cyber intrusion from hackers through passwords and weak credentials. Marcus and Hasain will demonstrate how hackers can compromise an entire IT environment using password dependencies and weak credentials. This live session will demonstrate an attack starting from compromising a single client to complete control over an Active Directory domain. We'll then be joined by BeyondTrust Andrew Clark. There'll be two poll questions, as I said, one that you're kindly completing now, and one at the end of the session. We'd be really grateful if you could take part. They're quick and simple. A couple of points to mention. We'll be recording today's session, and a link will be sent on to you later today. Please feel free to forward on to anyone that you would think could benefit from viewing the recording. We also encourage you to use the Ask a Question drop-down button in the GoToWebinar panel, and we'll answer any questions at the end of the session. Also, everybody will be in listen-only mode to avoid any connectivity issues. And without further delay, I will pass you over to Marcus and Hasain.
Thank you. So we're just going to get access to the screen so we can start playing around with this stuff.
Yeah, just come in.
Oh,
there you go.
Thank you. Screen and main monitor. Yay, we're online. So, Hasain, are you ready?
Yes.
Good, I'm ready.
Good to be here again.
So, just so you know, guys, before we start the session, I need to inform you that we're actually on like a holiday right now in Sweden, where we're doing this from. There's like a sport activity holiday. So we may not be our normal selves. We may be a little bit more relaxed, whatever, not focused. Anyhow. So, anything you want to add to the other side?
No, that's good.
Okay.
You described it very well.
Good. So, like Sarah said, the purpose of this session is to show you some of the things that can be real-world issues with passwords and password dependencies. And it's going to be a freestyle session, so if you never watched us before, we're not going to have any PowerPoints or anything. We're going to do some drawings, we're going to do some live demos, and basically show things that we think is appropriate. It could be anything. We don't really know, as of right now, exactly what we're going to show. But hopefully that's going to be exciting and somehow a new learning experience for you guys.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about maybe starting off with talking a little bit about this new problem that was identified only a few days ago. And it's called Superfish. I don't know if you heard about it. If you're really into security, you probably have, but it's an interesting scenario. Maybe Hasain can explain a little bit what happened.
Well, basically the scenario is that this was a pre-bundled product on some Lenovo desktop laptop computers. The product itself was used to kind of a marketing and targeting the users, different type of products they are searching on the internet and so forth. And security researchers discovered lately that that product was basically doing SSL, TLS man in the middle. So it was intercepting every secure connection the computer was making to any other kind of service. And then for the sake of reading the information about what products, what services the user were accessing. This is, of course, not a good behavior and pretty suspicious in many ways. So what Lenovo has done so far is that they have actually discontinued that service. Now, the other effects of discovering this kind of service is that there are many other products using this component. So this specific component is actually found in many other products, as we could discover this far.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing here is it's SSL man in the middle. That's what we're talking about. So Lenovo purposely did this. They implemented this function, and it's kind of interesting. So we're going to do a little demo, and then we're going to talk about other places where you might encounter this.
Yeah. So the demo is not going to be done with that product, the Commodia product. We're going to do it with another tool that we used to use. It's the Cane.
So the concept is basically you're sitting on a client, wherever that is, and you're making SSL connections to any server.
Mm-hmm.
And since I can do a man in the middle, I can, for example, harvest passwords and other credentials. The thing here is that it is an SSL man in the middle, so the user will think it's encrypted. And we're going to demonstrate this on Gmail, but it could be on anything, basically.
Yeah.
So let's take it away. In this scenario, we have one client, and the client dude is this regular Windows 8.1 Enterprise. Nothing really bad about it. It's configured the way it should be normally.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, we have the internet Google. I don't need to show you what Gmail looks like. We're going to get there later. But we also have an attacker in the mix here. And the attacker looks like this. It's going to be red so that you can remember which one is the attacker. And we're going to use a free-to-download tool, very famous among security people. It's called Cane.
Mm-hmm.
And with Cane, we're going to start doing some configuration first. I'm going to take away some old rules, actually. All this stuff here. So in Cane, you have some configuration options. And here, this is a fairly new feature of Cane. Not the certificate spoofing itself, but the fact that you can actually create a root certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And this Cane can work as a root CA, basically.
So earlier, Cane was generating a self-signed certificate for each SSL TLS base you were visiting. So now you can generate your own root certification authority and just tell Cane to just have every certificate generated by that one.
So let's generate one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do this generation. They can give it a common name. It could be like VeriSign Network.
Mm-hmm. So you can actually just copy and paste from any root CA certificate, like VeriSign Trust Network or VeriSign.
Let's do one that is
anything.
Trust Network.
Yeah. And then just VeriSign Inc. as the organization.
Country, US, you know, whatever.
And that's it. And then you have to save it as a PTML file.
So now we actually created a root certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And we can use it?
Yeah, just tell Cane to use that one to generate whatever server certificate it needs to. Actually, before doing that, we need to split it up into a certificate and a key file. So you have the certificate conversion stuff in it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. This is just straightforward. It's going to generate the server certificate you need. Sorry, the root CA start. Nope, without the prefix.
Of course.
So that's it. And then you pinpoint that specific certificate later on. So now, for the sake of the demo, we've already created that and stored it in another place. So we're just going to use that one. But it is that easy to generate.
So now we have this configuration done.
Mm.
The next thing we need to do is we need to start targeting clients using a man-in-the-middle attack. So we need to be somewhere in the middle. So this, of course, there are many different scenarios for this. One could be your own internet cafe. Another could, of course, be your own wireless somewhere. It could be inside your network if somebody's in your network directly, of course. So, I mean, there are many different scenarios. So I'm going to start the sniffer here. And I'm going to enumerate the systems on this network. And this is probably the router. Normally, I would do man-in-middle, between the router and everybody. Now I'm going to target the specific machines. I'm going to show you this machine and show you the IP of them. So again, the client 200. Can you an IP config here? Again, this is just a demo. I don't want to put all these spoof packets all over the network. So this is address 1.1.1.122. So on the other side, I'm going to configure to do man-in-the-middle between the router and him. And Cane is very easy to use. Now it's idle. When you click this button, it's going to say poisoning scary stuff. So now the traffic is poisoned. The next step, I'm not going to trick you into believing that this will run automatically. You need to do something on the client.
Mm-hmm.
So
the classic TLS SSL man in the middle will generate a whole lot of certificate errors on the client. So to avoid that, you need to make sure the client trusts the root CA certificate we generated just a minute ago.
Yeah, so these are going to be the scenarios. I mean, you would have to import the certificate, and we already did this just to make sure it works. So this Verisign Trust Network is actually imported, and as you can see, it's going to be valid for a long time. How will this happen normally? Well, the normal scenarios for this would be the following. A very common one is, of course, you get, for some reason, the client gets infected. You're surfing the web, you're running some unauthorized software that you install yourself.
You're downloading something you believe you can trust, and that's something, just like the case of the Superfish, it's actually adding a root CA certificate to your store, so you trust that one, and it's involved in man-in-the-middle activities.
The most scary scenario, actually, not that it may be scary as long as you're legit, is sometimes government agencies do this, even sometimes in customs. There are notes from the field where people have, people working for customs have injected code into systems from when you're entering a foreign state. So as long as they get hold of your laptop and it's not encrypted in the way so that they can access it, they can inject this code. So if you have physical access to a computer and you don't have strong encryption on your hard drive, or it's booted up, then you can do this. There are actually some RAM injection tools that we have access to, so you don't even have to do anything else than just put like a FireWire cable into it, and this will be injected automatically while running. So
anything that gives direct memory access, like FireWire or Thunderbolt, or any other similar technology that will allow you to do that kind of things.
Yeah, and it takes about 10 to 15 seconds. So those are the tools that I have seen in my line of business used by three-letter agencies, if you will. So it's good to know. And of course, the criminal world have the same things. They maybe not be as sophisticated, but they're going to do the same thing. They may take a little longer time or whatever. So what's going to happen now? Well, for some reason, this client is injected with this root CA, and I'm going to serve to log out to show that it works. And I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to log on with, for example, marcus.murray. .demo
at gmail.com.
Of course, at gmail.com with the password of this is not my real password. Log on. And now I'm logged on. And an interesting thing, if we look at the lock here, you can see that there's no cross. It's still a trusted certificate. And you can view the certificate and you can see the certification path. So what Kane will do, it will actually generate legit certificate in the trust chain of this root CA
for every service. Yeah. So you look at the general tab, you see clearly the validity time is starting from today, I guess, on this one. Yeah.
So I'm not sure you know how scary this is, but when you think about where we're currently going to, we're starting to manage server systems in the cloud, for example. So if you use this, for example, for Microsoft Azure, or if you have a client and you're operating your Amazon services, then this attack can easily give you admin credentials on really important services. So I think the world is changing now. It's more about stealing passwords from clients and to getting to these online services. And as the admins are moving towards the cloud, this is going to be basically the only attack vector.
Yeah.
There may not be as many internal dependencies in the future as it is right now.
So by collecting the password, and the password happens to be synchronized and give you access to other enterprise services, whether they are on-prem or co-located or hosted on a cloud vendor, you will have full access to these services as an extension to this. So if you could show the cane.
Yes, Hasain, I can show you cane. So looking at cane, you can see that there is full routing going on here, manual. And if you look at the HTTPS certificates, HTTPS password
sessions, and that's the what you typed in for the Google account logon.
Yeah. So this is the username right here, and this is the password. And it is not my real password, just to know. But it's a real password, though.
Yeah.
But it's not my real password.
For that specific account.
Yeah. So I think this is really scary, and this is the future. People are going to try to inject malware into your computers, and I think it's even scarier when companies like Lenovo and other companies, they inject this by default when you purchase your new hardware. And looking more into the future, I mean, still today we deploy the OSs locally on the corporate network when we buy new computers. But where Microsoft and where everybody else is going is you're going to get a pre-installed Windows with your computer, and you're just going to upgrade it. So 1-2 years from now, this is going to be, I think, the biggest attack vector on new computers. So I think you need to really stay focused and understand and bring this into your conscious. So we stole this password. Again, what could we do with this? There's this problem with password reuse, of course. So whenever we do a pen test, we find a password like this. We would try this for VPN services and all that stuff. So of course, we could potentially try, being the attacker now, to target internal systems. And it's kind of interesting. I can actually give you one example. We had a customer that had this incident not too long ago. They had RDP service, internet-facing RDP servers, and if you are a security-savvy company, you wouldn't really do that today. But when we look at corporations in general, it's still very common. So I'm actually going to show you some simple things you can do with RDP2. And we're going to do some SQL, and we're going to do some more, depending on how much time we've got left. But I need to change some configuration because this was an online demo. So now we're going to move into some internal networking, and I need to change my network configuration. So Hasain, keep them happy.
Can you stop that one?
Yeah, I'm going to stop this.
Yeah. As said, I mean, still speaking about the effects of the Superfish and the library that was loaded, even though you uninstalled the Superfish, that certificate would still be there, and the library would still be there as a kind of a dependency that the uninstalled application doesn't know if it was allowed to remove it or not. So any other application that happens to run on your machine that sees that library is there for intercepting TLS traffic would be able to simply use it and then extract all kind of valuable information from your TLS-based sessions. So that's where the security community were going right after the Superfish stuff. So even though Lenovo actually decided to remove the service and uninstall it from those laptops that were affected, parts of the service will still be there unaffected, and might very well be used by something else, somebody else, or at the same time as the original Superfish is there. Parts of the service will be available for other parties as well. And that's basically the problem with it. And it won't generate any browser warnings about certificates mismatching or not valid or anything of that, simply because they act as a root certification authority. Now, we all know that there's been a couple of hacks for some years ago on two public certification authorities on the Internet. The Komodo and the Diginotar, as we know that certain type of groups were able to actually purchase CA certificates or sub-CA certificates from one of these, what appears to be a sub-CA certificate, which give them the possibility to perform this action right away.
Yes. So let's do some more scenarios. What could you potentially do when you have a password? I mentioned RDP, and even though RDP is so old, we still see them like internet-facing RDPs. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to show you how simple it can be to do an RDP logon. And even if you don't have the password, some people actually manage to brute force it or sniff it as a manual. Yeah. So I'm just going to remind you of this old attack, but still so valid today for many companies. So in the brute force scenario, you can actually use a tool called Hydra. And this is an old school tool. There are old tools like Hydra, Medusa, they've been around forever, but they're really effective. So being on the attacker, I can just go to my demo folder here and go to my Hydra tool. It is vacation. I am kind of rusty when it comes to my keys. So by running Hydra, since this is a password session, oh my God. Hydra is a brute forcer, and Hydra can do so many different protocols. It's actually kind of scary. Mm-hmm. You can brute force almost anything today. You have RDP, MySQL, MS SQL, Oracle, even though Oracle is unbreakable, mm-hmm. SSH, normal Windows NetBIOS, VNC, different kinds of HTTP implementations, Cisco, you know, the works. Yeah. So as long as you have weak passwords, or if you don't have password lockouts that are really aggressive, which is of course a problem in itself, because that can be denied of service, you can brute force stuff. So I'm going to show you a simple example. I'm going to run Hydra, and I'm going to use the user. For example, administrator. And I'm just going to target a system. Let's say I did an nmap scan and I found this IP address of this vulnerable machine. So I'm going to do RDP, colon, and then 10.10.10.120. And I need to enter a password list as well. Mm-hmm. So I have this pre-cooked password list here. C:\demo pass.txt. And it is kind of scary. As you can see, it fires away. This does like a few concurrent, this is default 16 parallel connections done. I already have it, even though I'm not done. It says on 3389, there's a logon username of administrator and the password pass in this case. So I could actually use this as right now, just to authenticate to this manually in an RDP session, for example. So if I were to, I could just do mstsc/v colon 10.120/u colon. Oh, let's just do this. mstsc. Yes. What? Well, maybe Hydra killed him. That's scary. Ping 10.10.10.120. Interesting. I could find a password, but I can't connect. That's demo devil right there. Or is it still doing manual move? I don't know. Let's see if I can connect from another computer. Yeah. See if it will just my box. 10.200. mstsc.
120.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, okay.
So, being the attacker, I could do administrator and then the password pass, and I would get in.
Yeah.
So, again, this is still used in the wild. And there was actually the customer who got hacked. Oh my God, when we investigated this, we found out that this was a huge series of RDP attacks going on in the world right then. Many of them being from the Eastern European countries or initiated by the Eastern European countries. Not that you know, I mean, this could be proxified or linked or routed anywhere, but still. So the last one, when it comes to RDP, is, of course, that we could use Kane. And don't ask me why I killed this computer. I'm going to have to fire him up again. It's still running. Right. I think he's shutting down. I don't know. I don't remember. Let's see. But going back to Kane, and it's kind of neat. Still, even though you may not be exposing your RDP servers to the internet anymore, I would say more than 80% of every big corporation in the world are still using RDP internally in order to administer resources.
Yeah, and pretty much without any specific restrictions. So you can basically, from any client computer, connect to virtually to any server in the environment and then remote it from there.
Yes. So if I run Kane again, now being on an internal network somewhere, if I go back to the sniffer, and now I'm going to be on an internal network, so I'm going to Scamper Host again. Come on, buddy. Strange. Guess I really like my network. Let's see what we can do. Much better. So if I scan a range, let's say 10, 10, 10, 1 to 10, 10, 10, 200, 220. We'll find additional computers here. So 100, 120, 200. And actually my 120 is dead, so I'm going to bring him back to life again. It's off. Start. Yeah, I didn't kill him.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that.
No, actually I think it was me, but it's okay. It's, again, we're on holidays, right? Yeah. So we can play around, we can mess it up. I don't get paid today, right? So, well, it's coming back to life. Let's see if as soon as we can get this 120, it's going to be up.
Oh no, so. Just do it more precise.
That was kind of a big scope, right?
Yeah.
A little bit too big maybe. Let's see. 10, 10, 10, whatever, 11.
Yeah, so if you like, you want to scan the internet, then yeah, you could go ahead with that scope.
I think NSA does a way better job than I do scanning the internet, and all the other agencies as well. 120 is up, good. So now when we have it, we can create a new rule. This time the rule will be for the internal servers. So I would like to scan between the server and the client. So in this case, it's going to be the 200, which is the client, and the 120, which is the server. Normally I could scan broader, of course, but I know where to target this for this demo. So it's poisoning again. Actually, I can kill this old rule. And whatever happens here is going to be man in the middle, as good as Kane can possibly do it. So let's go back to the client and make a legit RDP connection again. And now this is a legit admin doing legit admin work. So he's going to do his MSTSE. He's going to remote control an important server someplace. And being the important guy he is, he could be administrator, and he will enter the password. And in my demo scenario, this is going to be a very short password, but in the real world, it wouldn't matter if it's the longest password in the history of man. And why is that? Well, because this is going to be in clear text. Hopefully.
Oh no, you didn't do the poisoning.
I didn't do the poisoning.
Yeah. We have to redo it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, never jump the gun too fast. It's good take home.
Yeah.
So, this case I missed it. Day 2.
Next time he or she likes it.
The client comes back TSC to do it again. And logging on, administrator.
Yeah, these hacker guys are used to be very persistent about what the things they need to get to.
How would you ever know? So anyhow, looking back here, there is now a new session here. It's decrypted.
Mm-hmm.
It is 128-bit encrypted. We could mention that. I mean, this is a very weak encryption because the key that actually sets up the encryption is not a private key.
Yeah, it's replaceable in such ways that the client cannot see if it is the original server key or not. There is no proof of identity for that key.
Yeah. So this text file here is a log.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm sitting on the attacker, and the interesting thing about this attack is that I don't need any credentials on the network whatsoever. I only need to be on the network.
Yeah.
So whoever will do an RDP logon using anything older than Windows 8, or actually, yes, it's still going to be older than Windows 8, then I can do this unless they do some real configuration to prevent it.
And there is as well a relationship to the server side. So if the server side is before 2012, there will be a possibility to downgrade the connection as well.
Yes. So one simple solution is use Windows Server 2012 R2 and Windows 8.1 clients. But again, that's not what we see out there. So look at this key press client side here. You can see A, add, and if you continue, administ, if you can follow down here, administrator, tab down to the password field, and then the password of pass. As you can see, it wouldn't matter if this was a really long, complex password because I get it in clear text. Because the connection is not really going between the client and the server directly. It's going from the client to the attacker, and there's a new session from the attacker to the server. So I'm forwarding whatever the client is connecting to and sending to me. And this is completely transparent, as long as your legacy, if you will, using these old RDP implementations. So still today, this is a very valid attack, so I think it's worth mentioning, and I'd like to remind you of this. So, another one, really common when you're on internal network. You don't see this out in the open much, but it's still so common. I think it's something every organization should do. They should do an inventory of all their SQL servers. Because the first thing we will ever do in a pen test, it wouldn't matter if we break in through the DMZ and then target the internal network, or if we compromise a client using client-side attack. One of the first things we will ever do is we will probe for SQL servers. And SQL servers are not just the ones that you installed yourselves. They will be part of the ERP systems, bundled systems. They will be installed on your developer laptops so that they can test their own web applications with connection to their own local database. And the idea here is simple. You want to compromise and guess the username password combination on SQL servers so that you can actually get access to the underlying operating system and steal things from there. So I'm going to give you a simple example on how you can do this.
And the benefit of SQL servers is that they have their own credential system, so you don't necessarily need to lock out the user account itself. You just playing around with the SQL Server accounts.
Yeah.
That's one other thing we used to have some benefits of.
Yeah. So I'm going to use the Metasploit Framework, which is a free to download tool. Again, this is a tool that most people know about. But first of all, I'm going to set up a multi-handler. And what the multi-handler is going to do is going to be basically a listener listening for connections. So whenever a computer is compromised, he will connect back to the handler. And then you will get a Metasploit agent shell, if you will. For some reason, this is hanging, so I'm going to open up another console. So strange. I think my computer is in holiday mood.
Well, I think the handler is already started. This could be just the UI or the presentation layer that is not.
Yeah.
So just go ahead with the other things.
I have confidence. Trust me, I'm not worried. My computer messes with me sometimes, but it never fails me really. Or actually, maybe it's me failing. So, looking at this, we have this listener here. Let's look at the other side. So, in this scenario, I'm going to clear some stuff out. The attacker sitting on the network now has a listener. So any hacked computer can connect to him so that I can remote control them. Step number 2 will be to probe the network and look for SQL servers. Soon as it's coming. Or we can actually do this manually too, of course, but how fun would that be? Work with news. Pressing buttons doesn't always help. Let's give him time. That's what you always say.
On the Metasploit, yeah.
Come on, baby, work with me. Come on, come on.
Maybe jump to the service password stuff.
Or do it manually for now.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's fine.
I can look for him manually. So for one example, I can use Nmap, and I can tell Nmap to do a normal port scan. And what SQL Server will use, he will use port 1433 by default. And I can tell him to do this over network 10.10.10/24. So this is a very simple way of getting the same thing done. I'm still waiting for you, man. Don't fail me now. I don't like that. Scary stuff. I need you, brother. And as Nmap is working, you can press space to get some results. It's still doing some slow. What's this computer so slow?
So to suppress the DNS resolution.
Did I change the no connections are available? There's something with the NIC. All of a sudden, this explains things. Let's see. No, it's there. It's just very slow.
Yeah, it is working. It's just some. It's up to something.
Yeah. This computer is tired.
Okay, so there are a couple of guys on the network that are running.
Yes, you can see some SQL Server reports here. There is one up here that is filtered, not very interesting, on 100.
Okay.
On 110, there is actually an open port. On 120, it's closed.
Yeah.
On 200, it's filtered.
So no answer. Okay.
So the one I could potentially target is the 110 one, right? And starting Metasploit console. Whoa, good timing actually. Thank you, Metasploit. I wasn't too worried because we actually have some internal tools I could have shown to do the same thing. But I wanted to do this in Metasploit to show you that this is accessible for everybody. So going back, I could use the find SQL. This is just Nmap again, but I could run for Metasploit. I did this already. So the next thing would be to brute force, for example, the 110. So I'm going to tell it to use the built-in scanner, and I can configure the remote host, the 110 I'm going to target.
Which one to target, yeah.
And then I can take a password file containing common passwords. And I want to set it to stop whenever it's logged on, and then run the exploit.
Yeah.
So this is actually a simple way. If you don't want to mistype anything, you can just put things in like Notepad, or like a semi-script, if you will. And as you can see, it fires away. It starts with a combination SA pass, password, etc. And then, after a while, logon is successful with a combination of SA and a strong SA password. This is a pretty fun password because this is actually the password in the manual. So if you
yeah, there is a sample command line about how to install Microsoft SQL Server and then silent mode, and then you could give the a strong password as a parameter. So
yeah, it says please enter a strong SA password, and then people actually do it. It's kind of strange.
This means that it actually should have deployed now a Metasploit agent on that system.
No, it hasn't yet. It just found the password. So the next step will be to compromise the system. So step number 2 will be to use this username and password to get an interpreter on there. So I'm going to use the interpreter reverse TCP, point to the target, attempt to call the phone home to the attacker, and then I'm going to set that password.
Okay, so now we know a login for that SQL server, and we can deploy the agent.
And this is the same process, whatever you're going to brute force into if you're an internal network. One, find the reverse TCP. Yes. So looking at no. Paste. Reverse TCP allows password exploit. Auxiliary monitor. Damn you! It's not working the way it should.
That's not quite hanging. Okay.
Attempted to kill the idle task, not syncing. Okay. Interesting things. I have seen more interesting things happening in the past. Let's see, I'm just going to do an exploit again and see what happens. It's really slow. Exploit. Start the handler, run this again. I may get lucky or I may get embarrassed. One of the two things are going to happen. Yeah, and exploit here. It's too fast. It's not this fast actually.
It doesn't want to play.
Well, again, if you fail this way, then you're going to use some other technique, right? So let's see if we can find Hasain's SQL shell. I'm not sure I have it here, but I'm going to do my best to see if I can find it. Demo, SQL shell, yeah. Why not? So whenever something fails, always have something in your back pocket. Otherwise, you could die. So I'm going to go to my demo folder, and then I'm going to use the SQL shell, which is a tool that an old TrueSec tool we wrote years ago. Here, and then I can run the SQL shell, and then I can enter this 10.10.10.110. I can do a SQL logon, and I can use the ID of SA and the password of strong SA password. 10.10.10.110 SQL SA
No, is it the capital? Yes.
Thank you. SA password. And now I have this remote SQL. So now I can actually do who am I? And I am system on this computer. I can do ipconfig. And I am on the 110 box. Host name. So this is the server 110, which I was targeting. If I look at the attacker host name, his own host name is going to be ipconfig. It's going to be a different one. It's going to be 10 and host name.
So you're simply executing system commands on the SQL server.
Yes.
Yeah, that one seems
really sucky.
Yeah.
I used to love you, Metasploit. Why am I not loving you anymore? On you. I can't give up either. I'm restarting just for fun.
So going back to...
Yeah, going back. So, actually we don't have so much more time. This took time. I think you should show the service account. So, this is another very lethal one. This is going to be the last demo of the day. There is a problem with how Kerberos tickets are protected. So in this attack, and Hasain is going to show you and demonstrate this, but if I am a client on the network and all I need is I'm a user in the domain, then I can do some steps. I can actually enumerate all the different service accounts or services, and I can query for their Kerberos tickets or get tickets. And the tickets are going to be signed, or actually you can brute force encrypted with the password as the key.
That's right. That's right.
So what you can do is you can, as a user, you can get the ticket, and then you can do an offline brute force attack on the ticket directly, so that you can actually get the password of that service account. So if this is a domain admin service account or hybrid service account, then you will actually compromise the domain for just being a user. So this is another scenario. You get malware in a user, and then you can become domain admin. So this is really scary. And this is not, is it patchable?
Well, this is not a problem per se in Kerberos as we might think of. This is not a vulnerability in Kerberos. This is rather how Kerberos is constructed. This is by construction or by design. So every Kerberos ticket is encrypted with that specific destination account password. So if the service has been running by a specific user account, then it's that user account password. If the service is running on top of a computer account, then it's that computer account password. So once you get that ticket and you can work your way on that ticket until you find the password, simply just crack it until you find it. And there is nothing that's going to react on your operations other than, hey, we see that you acquired a ticket, you might want to access that service. That's the only active component in the whole process. Yeah. So everything else is passive operations throughout the whole process.
Yeah, so this is a user. Mm-hmm. It's just a regular user in the domain.
Yeah.
If you want to elevate or do something really nasty, like whatever services, you look at services or something, you want to change something.
Yeah, you see that's a typical normal local user account with no other privileges.
Yeah, so I can't do things as an admin. If I want to run something as an admin, run this as an admin, I will have to elevate. Yeah. So I'm just a regular user.
So just start with querying the domain for service accounts or actually service principal names, which will in turn reveal service accounts in the background.
Yes. So this is a simple command, set SPM.
We query for different type of services. And you see the last one listed there, it says http:/intranet domain name. This is a typical one we're looking for because there is a service account connected to that one. It says svc_intranet. The other ones are related to servers, like SRV 120, the one right above it, and so on. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to use PowerShell to acquire or request for a Kerberos ticket for that service. Yeah, so we just start with showing what kind of tickets you already have in the system. This is klist, the built-in command, just shows you what Kerberos tickets you have. And we do have the SIFs and the Perp TGT stuff, which is the one you have when you just log in. So
we have two tickets. Now we're going to run some PowerShell, and this is actually .NET. So we're going to run some .NET commands using PowerShell.
Yeah.
And basically what we're going to do is we're going to query for this ticket.
Yeah. Tell the domain controller that I want to have a Kerberos ticket to access the service. And it's going to happily, so do the klist again, we should see that there is a ticket now in our lists. The one with the intranet, HTTP, the one in the middle?
Yes.
Number one? Yeah. This is the one we're looking for. So next step is to now extract this ticket from the system, and we can do that as a regular user as well. So we're going to basically use a Mimikatz to dump that ticket into a file. Just do the Mimikatz, let's see, MD, it's there. So if we just...
Oh,
go to the Kerberos. And then do the Mimikatz and CMD. Yes. So if you just list your directory, it's just there. And we do have 3 different tickets representing the ones we just seen using the klist. These are the dump of those tickets. So now we're going to work with another tool in this toolkit and then work on trying to brute force the passwords for that account. So that's going to be the TGS, crack, Python script, and we're going to work on that file name.
We're going to take this file.
Just make sure that we have.
We put it here because I'm going to reference it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And then run the command line. This is a Python script. So We run it with portable Python. And then it's going to work. It's work through a word list and a username list if you would like to until it finds the password. And it says password found for ticket 0, and the password is abc.123 with capital A. And for that Kerberos file, you can of course run it with multiple ticket files if you want to. So now we know that that service account does have that password.
Yeah. So in this scenario, if we're doing this from a client, and this service is run in a high privilege, it could be a domain admin. Mm-hmm. We see that a lot. Or it could be a server admin that's allowed log on locally to every server. Yeah. Then you're dead in the water.
Or it could be good enough if it is a local admin on that server, somebody with higher privileges are logging in to that server.
Have we been running over time, Hasain? Like 7 minutes?
Yeah, not necessarily. I guess the BeyondTrust guys want to have it 10 minutes or so. So
you have 5 minutes. Was that 50? No, that was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I think we're over time. So to wrap this up, I mean, we showed you some different attacks that people can do. They're very common. And I'd like to just repeat some of them. I think the SSL man in the middle is really, really important to understand. Mm-hmm. And
it's valid. It's valid both on the internet side and on our internal networks as well.
So I think it's very important to remind everybody, especially since we're going into a world with not just online services, but also the cloud per se when it comes to server resources. Yeah. You need to use trusted computers. You cannot use internet cafe computers. You should know that nobody touched your laptops, and you should encrypt your hard drive because they will steal your passwords in clear text. And we all know that people do password reuse. And the other thing was SQL Server attacks, RDP attacks internally. And I think it's last, but maybe worst one actually when it comes to compromising the domain, the service account attack. So look into Kerberos if you want to know how to replicate this and test this in your own environments.
Yeah. And the quickest way to get the Kerberos stuff fixed is to use the new style service accounts, the managed service accounts. Then you will end up with service accounts with passwords that are 128 character long.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening. Hang on, Sarah's going to want to talk to you, or maybe Andy even. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much, and over to the BeyondTrust guys.
Thank you.
Hi, and thank you very much, Marcus and Hasain, for that great presentation. My name is Andy Clark. I'm an engineer with BeyondTrust, and as I have a huge amount of time left, I'm just going to talk to you very briefly about some of the things you can do in an organization to actually mitigate some of the attack vectors we've seen today. We have a number of different products that look at privilege and vulnerability management. Now, looking at that, the way this attack vector has happened and played out in the demonstration today, I'm just going to very quickly throw something up on the screen here. Alright, so this is really what that attack vector is. So we have an external attacker is looking at your network, they identify a vulnerability, they exploit that vulnerability, and then use that vulnerability to move and elevate themselves and traverse your network, which is a very effective way of penetrating a network. Is pretty much how the vast majority of attacks take place. Now I'm going to throw up a few statistics on here, but let's be honest, they're statistics and they don't really reflect the reality of the world today. So really what we're talking about here is three different things. To take a look at your external vulnerabilities, kind of that initial impact point, we have a product called Retina. Retina is a very venerable vulnerability management tool that's been on the market for a very long time. We have, in fact, as of yesterday, included a check for Superfish, so you can now use Retina, including the community editions, to scan your networks and discover where Superfish exists. We have a number of products for privilege management on both Unix and Linux sides, on the server side and in the Windows side, so you can reduce your environment to the standard user model and only elevate those applications, those processes that require elevated privilege to run, so that you remove that ability to traverse Next and finally, we have a password management product in the form of PasswordSafe. Now, PasswordSafe will actually automatically manage those passwords. It's going to replace those passwords on a very regular basis. So again, any of those cached passwords that may exist on a Windows or a Unix system, they're not going to work anymore because they've been changed automatically. I'd like to throw up a quick poll question right now, just if you wouldn't mind. Really, we'd like to know if you want to know more about what we're doing, and would you like to talk to us more about the risks in your environment, see more about our products, get a demo, or anything else at all? Okay, if you wouldn't mind, just go on, click the button, answer the poll, and it takes a second, and then we can release you to your lives, if you don't mind. The session has been recorded today, so anybody who has signed up, you're going to receive a link to the recording so you can view it at your leisure. Apart from that, it would be very helpful if you would complete the poll, and we can be in touch with you. We can discuss different ways you can mitigate the attack vectors we've seen. I would like to say a big thank you to Hasain and Marcus for the excellent demo of some hacking techniques today. It was very interesting, certainly from my point of view, and I hope that you've got something out of this. Finally, just really thank you very much for attending, and we hope to speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.